Going with cognitive dissonance here and use an example from investing. So many investors have underperforming investments and they're reluctant to admit they made a bad investment. So the proper course of action, as you know, is to cut your losses. In other words, the investment scheme that works the best, the one that professional traders use, is to cut your losses quickly and let your winners run. That's what professionals do. What amateurs do typically, because they have these psychological biases, at least in some part because of these psychological biases, is that they tend to hold on to their losers and take the profits from their winners that are easy money. So they accept the winners, lock those in, and then they hold on to the losers and accept the losses over long periods of time. And that is a mistake. So what investors need to do is recognize that this conflict, this cognitive dissonance in their head of accepting their losses is natural and they need to overcome it. Now, one of the things that happens in amateurs is they buy a stock in a short-term trade. A friend of mine bought Cisco at $300 thinking it would go to $600. Well, $300 to $600 would be great. That's wonderful. But when it went from $300 to $250, he should have thought that, boy, its stocks goes down, you know what, I should get out of it. But he didn't. What did he think? He thinks, oh, you know what, it really wasn't a short-term trade. Now it's a long-term investment. I'm going to hold on. So you take your trade that you thought was going to go up and it goes down and you hold on to it so you don't have to admit or accept that you made a mistake. This way you can hold on to, I'm still a good investor, I'm not wrong here, and so you hold off that conflict of cognitive dissonance for a little bit longer. In other words, they don't want to admit that they're wrong. There are other examples too beyond stocks. For example, if you get turned down on a date, have you ever thought, well, the person who I used to think was attractive now becomes really ugly? Ask anybody who's been divorced how they feel about their ex-wife or their ex-husband, and you'll often find that, oh, I can't believe I thought that way. Clearly, they were something I didn't think of. I am not a bad person. I'm not a bad judge of character. I was right in selecting them, but they've changed. Something else they've done is wrong. It couldn't possibly be that I selected the wrong mate to begin with. That person now changes in your mind, and all of a sudden it's about them instead of you realizing that, geez, I'm not making such good decisions. Also, if you smoke but don't think it's really going to hurt your health, and it won't happen to me, it's because I make good decisions and this isn't going to happen to me, because you can't have the psychological conflict going on in your head of you being a good person and you being unhealthy. That doesn't make sense to you. Therefore, you have to justify it or rationalize it in another way. So there's lots of different ways that cognitive dissonance shows up in our lives. And that psychological choice between either I accept the conflict and I accept the new situation, the new value, the new belief of I'm not a perfect student. I'm not perfect at picking spouses. I didn't perfectly pick a stock. Or to hold my values, my beliefs that I'm really a good student, stock picker, and spouse, well, I need an example. I need to discount the other person. I need to figure out what that other person is has done, or and it doesn't have to be a person, it could be external events. We need to do one of two things when we are faced with a dislocation in our beliefs. One, we have to change our beliefs, our feelings, our values, or two, we need to attempt to justify or rationalize our choices. And so one of those two things typically happens. And as you go through this course, identifying this is going on is the key. Instead of just letting this happen and letting your psychology impact your decisions, we're going to identify that, oh, there's a conflict here. Oh, okay, now how am I going to handle this conflict? Do I understand that my knee-jerk reaction is to justify or rationalize my circumstances? And once you see this in yourself, and you do this a couple of times, you'll start seeing it in many, many other people, and all of a sudden you'll go, oh, I need to pull back. I don't want to force this issue in a wrong way, because I'm feeling a little conflict of what I thought was true, or what I believed is true, what I valued is true, and actually what's going on here. So it's a very interesting psychological concept. that we'll talk about in many different ways in the class. So it's up front here in the lessons. And so cognitive dissonance, it's a fancy term basically saying there's a conflict between your thoughts and beliefs and what's actually going on or what's new information. And how you handle that is going to be very important in how you make decisions.